Welcome back to another episode of Keen on Australia. Today we're looking at something a little bit different. We're going to talk to someone that works in the world of teaching and teacher recruiting. So we're going to find out a bit more about if you want to move here and work in the education system and how it all happens. So Carly, tell us a bit about yourself.
Hi, well, I'm Carly from Point to Point Education. I'm set up and established on the Sunshine Coast in Queensland, Australia. We are a teacher recruitment agency specialising in teacher placements across Australia, the UK, and even some international schools as well. So we really specialise in supporting teachers and connecting them with schools that would be, a good fit for their career and setting up interviews, doing career CV support and interview support, that type of thing. We've been around a while, so we reopened Point to Point Education in 2012, and we're well established in the industry. So we know all the ins and outs of the visas, salaries, relocation, how schools are evolving and changing in this interesting time. So yeah, we're here to help teachers relocating to Australia from all around the world, and also teachers who will also like to go overseas to the UK. So we help in both directions.
That's awesome. What we'll do today, we'll keep it around some real general advice for everyone. And remember, if anyone needs specific advice, as we always recommend, reach out to a professional for your individual situation and get the advice that's suited to you. But so, what sort of teaching roles are you mainly recruiting for? Is it early childhood, primary, high schools? What are you?
There is a demand for early childhood, primary, secondary, all disciplines, and special education or inclusive education. That's quite widespread. All of the areas are in demand. However, subjects like physics, science, maths, computer science, and languages are also, so modern foreign languages like French, Spanish, German, different things are also in demand. The locations where there is demand varies, though, depending on. So we've got quite a dynamic and increasing amount of work coming up in Victoria. Queensland's quite buoyant, particularly north of the Sunshine Coast. There's a lot of opportunity for people who are looking to advance their careers or maybe to get into more leadership roles, because it's an area which it's a little bit more remote than what we hear of, people coming to Brisbane, Sunshine Coast, Gold Coast. If you're prepared to go that little bit further north, your opportunities for career advancement are really awesome. So basically, yeah, there's a demand for teachers. This has been, always will be, but there are pockets and areas. So if you're thinking of moving to Australia, I just recommend getting in touch with us, because we have different consultants dedicated to the different regions, whether you're city, coastal, rural, and we can talk you through the ins and outs of that region.
The cool thing with that, I suppose, is you could probably give someone an idea of a place they've never thought about to look at moving
Yeah,
to. Then
yeah,
they can do some research and decide it might be for them. Because I know a lot of people we talk to, they move from, say, a small town or a smaller city, and they're like, "Hey, I want to come over here," and they only know of the big five or six. And to them, that's quite daunting because they don't want to move somewhere with a population of a million plus. But there's just so many great locations in such a big country that, hey, that could be
yeah.
a great way that people could
And some
actually
of the
go.
communities are awesome too. Like I'm working with some schools south of Townsville, and it's a sugarcane community. So, the towns are like 8,000 people. Great opportunities for the teachers and families moving over from, whether it's South Africa, New Zealand, Australia, the UK, wherever people are coming from. But it's just like becoming part of a community and a hub instantly as a part of the profession.
Yep.
So that's really nice too. And there's a lot of support with, housing and relocation and stuff through the Queensland government for those types of roles. So there's a few incentives as well.
That's cool. So what's the process going to be like for a teacher that wants to move that's already qualified and working in, say, New Zealand or the UK?
Yeah. So each state in Australia has a different registration process. So whether you're a teacher who's provisionally registered in your home country, that means you've just graduated from teaching and you're just starting out, or if you're fully qualified with 2 to 15 or more years experience, you need to go through the teacher registration process here. So you need to be a bit selective about which state. Do your research, talk to us first and figure out which state you want to work in, where you think you or you and your partner or you and your family would be well suited, and go through that registration process. So when we have that initial conversation with you, we'll talk to you about the opportunities and you can decide which way to go. Here in Queensland, where I'm based, so a teacher coming from the UK or New Zealand would need to go on the Queensland College of Teachers website and register and get mutual recognition for their teaching qualification here in Queensland. And it's the same process for each state. So I can direct anyone who comes towards us with the right link so they're going down the right pathway.
Cool. And I suppose, yeah, that is a big one for people to remember. And it's something we have to point out quite a lot to people is we are multiple states and territories here, and it's just a little bit different depending on where you're going to move to.
Yeah, it is. And also that by doing it nice and early as well. So at the moment, teachers coming over to start in January doing their registrations now because it can take 8 to 12 weeks or longer. And that way you're more employable and, you can likely pick up a job through an online interview rather than waiting till you get here and finding your feet. Like you really want to set yourself apart from other people and show you're organised and get your paperwork in line.
And say, obviously, we've got private schools and public schools here. Is the process going to be pretty similar for both, or is it some big differences?
Yeah, the process is actually quite similar. The private schools I work with often ask to see the QCT anyway because it gives them some reassurance the teacher's fully qualified to work. It just gives them reassurance. So I would just say do that regardless, whatever state you're working in, go through the official paperwork for that state. And then the private schools and faith-based schools as well, they usually would request to see that anyway.
Cool. And what sort of things are you seeing the Australian schools looking for in candidates for make people stand out at the moment? Is it length of time in the job, or is it certain qualifications, or are they just that short of teachers? They're just looking for qualified teachers.
Yeah, I don't think the shortage is that dire that they're looking for the right people. A principal I spoke to yesterday, she said, we can work with anyone that's caring, kind, has respect for others, is a go-getter, will do that little bit extra. Teachers, the core work of teachers is to be a giver, and so people who want to do that little bit more and show that they can offer extracurricular or do things in the community, that's really advantageous. People who are into the sporting side of things or cultural events, helping with the school shows and production. So they want hands-on, caring people who want to sort of raise standards of education, but also young people in the community. And I think that was a really lovely conversation I had because it wasn't all about what they could deliver in the classroom. It was about the whole person, the whole child, the whole community, and what is adding value in a bigger way. So that's one of the things I know is really looked for. I think also across the board, whether it's here in Australia, New Zealand, UK, high levels of literacy, numeracy, and scientific skills. I mean, obviously, we're trying to raise standards in education across the board. And so having proven, good skills in literacy and numeracy in your school and having done continuous training to upskill to the new way of delivering things, particularly in phonics and things like that. Those things they help people stand out a little bit to be continually upskilling and learning all the time. So I'd say, yeah, the type of person you are is really important. So you can come over here and get established and be confident and be a go-getter, and also that grounding from your experience in the classroom and, building strong relationships and being a good teacher at the fundamental end, at the end of the day.
So on the other end of that spectrum, are there common mistakes or things you're seeing that teachers are doing wrong that they shouldn't be doing when they're going to move here?
Yeah, I think some teachers think they can wing it a little bit and they'll finish up in their home country, jump on a plane. So if they're coming from Scotland or the UK, they can get a working holiday visa. The Kiwis can come over and land quite easily here, but then they haven't got their QCT done or their Victorian teacher registration. So they land in a city which is expensive to live in. They've got temporary accommodation and they haven't got their paperwork lined up. I would say that would be the majority of the uncertain calls we get would be from people who haven't sort of lined everything up with us early on. And so they don't have, it takes, 8 to 10 weeks to get your paperwork sorted. So they're out of work for a while, and that can be troubling for people depending on their savings and how much money they've got in the bank account. Yeah.
And that's the thing. Preparation is always the key.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah.
That's, I suppose, part of my next question is it quite common for you to help someone to get a job before they've even landed in the country and arrive to a job?
That is the way we do it. We do set up online interviews for all of our schools that we work with. Our schools are quite they're very open to online interviews, and that's great. I mean, it has been like that for a while now, particularly even like teachers coming from Australia, New Zealand, going over to the UK. Online interviews is the main way of doing things, and coming here now too. But I think it's more about the schools looking for the best person for the job. It's really opened up the job market. Instead of the people that are just on their doorstep who might be putting in a CV and application, they can broaden their reach and look for different skill sets by looking further afield. So definitely, I think, yeah, the online interview process is alive and kicking well and truly in Australia.
And that's awesome. And then obviously we've said a lot about full-time roles and those sort of things. Do you also do like I know a lot of teachers when they first return back to work after having kids and that like to take on part-time, or some of them are just when they're not quite sure and they just want some temporary teaching or relief work. Do you guys work in that field as well?
We don't have a huge amount of work in that field, but if families come over, and like I've got a few situations where I'm quite flexible, and if the school comes to me and says, "Hey, Carly, I've got a maternity leave coming up. Have you got anyone that's landed recently?" Of course, we look at the available teachers who we're in contact with, and connect the two together. Most of our jobs are long-term, full-time, permanent contracts. However, fixed-term, not so much part-time. It depends on the area, to be honest, actually, because like if you're looking at Brisbane, Gold Coast or Sunshine Coast, there's a very limited job market here anyway for teachers. So you're looking on the outskirts mostly for the more longer term jobs.
And do you help them with other things like relocation, flights, paperwork, all that sort of stuff? Or do you have partners you work with that you get them to help them out?
Generally speaking, we guide all teachers through the relocation process. We don't make any decisions for the teachers, obviously, but we guide you. So if we've got a teacher going to Upper Coomera in the Gold Coast, we'd connect you with other teachers that are going to that area, and other families who have done similar things to you, and we would guide you. I mean, we've all moved over here ourselves, so we weren't originally from Australia. So, we've also been through it. So things like, setting up a bank account, getting your tax file number, and getting your Medicare card, those types of logistical things, which have to always be done in a certain order. We guide all applicants through that process. And once their flights are booked and they're landing, we know we're guiding the whole way through. So it's sort of like a coach on the side or a support on the side.
That's awesome. And once they're here and they've landed a job, how are they going to find it compared to other parts of the world, like class sizes, workload, same length teaching day, those sorts of things?
Yeah. Generally speaking, Australia is quite on a par with a lot of other areas. I think the class sizes can be anywhere from sort of 25 to 30, same as in New Zealand, same as in the UK. If you're going into an independent school, the school I was talking about south of Townsville before, they've got less than 20 in a class. It's capped at 20. So, you're looking at smaller class sizes in a private school, which is similar as if you were in the UK, New Zealand, Scotland, wherever. I think, the main difference would be the curriculum. So that obviously what we're delivering, even though the content's fairly similar between all the countries, some people find the curriculum easier to adapt to than others. So depending on where you're coming from. So that's something where we would guide you through that. So when we interview any candidate, we unpack the strengths on their current skill set from the curriculum they're currently delivering, and sort of do individual coaching on what they would need to do to adapt to the curriculum here. So yeah, that takes a little bit of time. The curriculum is probably the main difference.
Awesome. And how far in advance should someone start to think about reaching out if they're going to make the move to Australia and they want to get a job?
Yeah. If you're coming from somewhere like New Zealand, you're looking at a term in advance, I would say is a good amount of time. So we have 4 terms in New Zealand and Australia. So like for the moment, we're currently just hitting August. So we're doing jobs now for term 4 and term 1 next year. So to get the right fit and to find the job that's a good fit, and to be able to relocate confidently, knowing where you're going, a good lead-in time is really important for paperwork and relocation. If you're coming from further afield, like the UK, Scotland, South Africa, we have teachers from all over the world, the visas take a bit longer, and some schools would need to sponsor candidates to be able to work in their school, or you'd be applying. We can talk about visas in a minute, but that takes a bit longer. So I'll be saying 3 to 6 months in advance for people who are needing sponsorship or visas to come into the country.
And that was actually going to be my next question. For
Oh,
those
I thought so.
like to be
Okay.
a Kiwi with an automatic visa,
Yeah.
moving from anywhere else in the world and you haven't got your visa, are there schools out there that will do the sponsorship programs? And if so, how long is it going to take you roughly from start to finish to maybe get a visa?
Yeah. So once you have a job offer with a school that can sponsor, um, you're looking at about a 3 month process. So the teachers I've been placing now for January 2026, their visa process is just starting. They've already got their job offers, and we're talking about teachers from the UK coming over on skilled worker, sponsored skilled worker visas. There is a few other routes in for people from overseas as well. There is the working holiday visa, which people can get a foot in the door and get working and established over here, where teachers can work for 6 months in a school at a time. So you could do a fixed term contract for 6 months on that, and taste Australia out. Have a taste of how it's all going to go, and if you like it, and get some introductions that way, get a feel for the schools, and then you could be sponsored beyond that. So coming over on the working holiday visa is a good one. A lot of teachers from the UK, Scotland, and South Africa, and places like that, America, are doing the expression of interest for the subclass 1190 visa, which means it's a skilled visa, which is independent. So you put an expression of interest into the government immigration here, and if you are what they're looking for and you meet all the requirements on the labour list, then you'll be invited to apply for a specific visa. And that way you can then apply for jobs, independently through us, which means the school doesn't have to sponsor you. So there are a few different routes in and out, but they're the main ones.
Cool. So it comes back to that basically. The moment you made your mind up, you want to move, probably reach out and work out the best way to do it.
Yeah, everyone's got a different pathway, and some people are coming on their own. Some are coming. We've got a family from South Africa with 5 children at the moment, so there's a whole. We've got to be able to be adaptable and guide people in the different scenarios that we're working with.
Before they reach out, what are all the documents they should be digging out and having ready? What are they going to need when they're moving?
Definitely will need current police checks, original copies of teaching qualifications, transcripts. They're the main things. The police check and qualifications are the main things, actually. Obviously, your passport needs to be valid and up to date, those types of things. Other than that, I would guide individual teachers on the CV structure, because depending on what you're teaching, we can look at your CV or your resume and give you some feedback on that, because there is a structure that's quite easy to, that the principals like to look at. They don't like things that are too big anymore. It's got to be nice and concise. So there's things like that, and we've got templates we can share with candidates to help them structure their things in a nice, concise way. And we have document checklists and a compliance manager that would help come in behind the teacher and me and our team, help making sure everyone's documents are in line. So there's not going to be any issues at borders and things.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Looking for lots of good advice on the show, but what is that one golden nugget you could give someone if they're sitting there now thinking, yep, I think I want to move to Australia and teach over there? What's the one thing they should look at doing?
After I moved here, I thought, what took me so long?
Yep.
So if you're actually thinking about it, and I've lived in 2 places in Australia now. So I started off in Brisbane, 13 years there, and I'm on the Sunshine Coast now, and I moved here 2 years ago. And then I said to myself again, what took me so long? Why did it take so long to get to the Sunshine Coast? Because it's, the lifestyle in Australia is remarkable. And in Queensland in particular, where we live, the weather's fantastic, and the quality of life, the time you spend in the outdoors is fantastic. So I would say my biggest piece of advice is, if you're sitting on the fence and thinking about it, put one foot in front of the other, make the inquiries to the right people who can help you get here, and go for it. There's nothing to lose.
Oh, thank you for all that. And thanks for being on the show. All the teachers are going to love that help. If they do want to reach out and they're thinking, hey, how do I actually do that next step? How can they get a hold of you guys? Where do they find you?
Yeah, so we're all over everything, all the platforms, but point-to-point-education.com is our website. We're on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn as well. If they would like specific advice or to book I can send you the links to share with the podcast if you like, but they can do an instant assessment and upload their CV to get a call from one of us. So that way we can talk through individual scenarios, kind of case by case.
Awesome. Well, thank you again for your time, Carly. It's been great. And I'll definitely post up with this show those links so people can get in touch with you and work out how they can do it. And then obviously that's been another one of our great shows. If you're out there listening thinking, hey, I wish I really knew XYZ, just send us a message because that's how we work out how to get on the show. It's when people ask us questions, we go out and find the people to interview that can answer those questions for you to make everyone's move to Australia a lot easier and a lot less stressful. So keep an eye out for our next show. It'll be out on all your favorite podcast platforms soon.